Hey, what's going on, Archons? It's another episode of Coach's Collection, and this week I'm bringing to you a deck on my new mat. That's right, this is my Mighty Tiger mat that I just acquired for a killer deal, and it was the only house missing from my repertoire of mats in terms of being able to represent every house to have that flavor, because I do love that when doing my openings, is being able to have a house represented with it. And this was also one of my favorite pieces of card art when the game first came out. I thought it was so cool, the Mighty Tiger. It just looks epic. That's probably because I had my Magic mentality where fighting with creatures was a thing, and it found out that it was not as necessary. So that's cool. We still haven't seen this kind of snapping turtle creature ever appear, but I love this mat, and I'm glad I was able to acquire it. I think it's the nicest Untamed mat I've seen, other than the Vault Tour one with the bear stuff, which is super sick. So here we are. Today I'm bringing you Nagging Osfrid of the Fort for my Coach's Collection. This is a deck that I just talked about as one of my favorite decks in the most recent Hell from Future Self episode. So if you want to hear a little bit more about some of my favorite decks, Scuzzy's favorite decks, and Sydney Steele's favorite decks, SC Steele, you can tune into that episode. It's episode 94. But I thought I would give this visual thing for it because a lot of you got to hear about the decks, and now you can see it in action of what I was talking about. And if you're not into watching podcasts or whatever, or listening, this gives you another opportunity to see this deck in this form, because this is one of my favorite decks for the main reason that it is probably within the first 10 decks I opened for this game, period. Maybe less than 10, maybe 5, but I know for sure is in the first 10. And why do I like this deck? Because this was my first combo deck. And the reason why this deck actually became so special to me is because of Scuzzy, because I kept beating him with it, and he was on a mission to be able to try and stop it, and kept bringing new decks, and I kept being able to pull off wins. My record against him, I think he won once or twice, but we played a bunch of games before it got to that point, and it was a lot of fun doing that. And so it's a Brobnar Untamed Shadows, and the things that make this deck really tick is the Sting, and then having KeyCharge and Chota Hazri in the deck. That is what makes this deck really just sing and do its thing. It's a combo deck. It's my first true combo deck that I had because of the Sting and that. But it has so many other aspects to it that I love. And now that I have different knowledge within the game, I'm curious to explore those things and see what they are. So to go into the non-combo things that I guess could be considered other combos I like, is that it has Follow the Leader with some really great creatures for fighting. And then it has a double Gauntlet of Command, okay, with Pile of Skulls. And a Ganger Chieftain in here. But then on top of that, it has Earthshaker and Heeb the Huge. So potential to just actually really control the Ember and take advantage of that Pile of Skulls aspect. And then a Crump Lomir for a little bit of Ember control there. War Drummer, which allows to actually pull back your Earthshaker and maybe play it again, or even the Ganger is a lovely play there that you can do, getting to utilize Crump against. There's really nice combos in Brobnar and then the Blood of the Titans to just make something extra more powerful. I feel like Crump is going to get that, or something in another house. Then moving on to the Shadow side of things, this is where the combos come. Brobnar kind of functions in its own, but then Shadows is really working with Untamed to pull these combos off. So the Miasmas are nice when to allow some stalling to get what you need to really pull off some of those combos. You also have the Lomir Flame Fist, which can help with that burst a little bit if they go past. But the Miasmas are to help you stall out when you need to. Then we got the nice board control with Pawn Sacrifice and Poison Wave on top of the stuff you saw in Brobnar. Secret Needle's fine. The Sting is a really key component in this because it's what's going to get you that Ember where your key cheats can go off really easily. Then obviously Dodger is a candidate that I was talking about for blood money if you want to go fight steals there. Silvertooth is fine. Umbra is fine. But Snecklifter adds that little bit of really nice artifact control, especially in the current game with all those juicy artifacts. I'm excited to see what Snecklifter can steal. And then we got an Urchin to round things off there. So that's that with Shadows. And then we move into Untamed. You obviously got the Full Moon with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 creatures, which is really nice. And then the Grasping Vines not only is a little bit of artifact control that your opponent can be dealt with some pesky things clogging the hand, but it also gives you the opportunity to lift the sting when it is no longer relevant, so you necessarily don't have to call shadows to get rid of it and allow yourself to forge a key. That's what's really nice about the Grasping Vines. And then obviously I mentioned Key Charge. Regrowth is really nice for potentially getting a full moon activation or recurring your Chota Hazard to maybe do 3 keys with the sting still on board. Like, that is something that could happen. Ritual Balance, a little bit more Ember control, and then Halicore is nice for some fighting stuff, especially with those Brobnar folks, or even getting a Dodger on the flank. That's really nice. Again, some more ways to fight, deal with the board. Pile of Skulls, again, is really crucial. When you get Pile of Skulls out, it just provides just so much great Ember control all the time because you just can fight and get it. Marmook, again, some more Ember control inside the House of Untamed. So every single house has Ember control in this. And then Niffle Ape is, little meat and potatoes, getting around those taunt and elusive. Things that are being protected now exist way more, and this allows you to circumvent that and get some damage in. Maybe a target for Blood of the Titans, if you see that being something that's necessary. Do you need to get around things? Like, do you notice your opponent has a lot of taunt? Because that's something you may want to consider. Also elusive as well. There's been many a time when I've noticed that a board full of shadows, elusive creatures, especially in Mass Mutation, can cause a huge headache because you have to take 2 creatures for every one of theirs, and it just becomes inefficient to fight into them. But you also can't ignore that if the board control hasn't happened. Thank goodness there's Poison Waves in here. And then lastly, to round things off, we have Witch of the Eye, which is just obviously a classic staple in the Coda era. So that is something to consider as well, to recur those key points that you may need within the deck. So that pretty much has it for this. As you can see, it has a lot of things. And the weird thing, I think this is a 64 SAS, but it definitely hits above its weight class. But it is a deck you need to know, and you need to take time to play it and see the way the combos come, because things cannot come always in the best way for you, but it does have the potential to do some cool things. And I do also like the double Poison Wave with a Secret Needle, because you can take out that 3-power creature and get that Ember. So it's really nice, and like I said, Pile of Skulls is a crucial thing. So sometimes you may need to cycle for the Sting and Pile of Skulls. Those are what you want to dig for in this deck and get those cool things, because it doesn't have ways to really cycle beyond that. So that is Nagging Osprey of the Fort, my first true combo deck that has a thing it wants to do and it does it well. And I also want to talk about the concept of best of 3 decks. So I feel combo decks really fall into this, where you have a degree of RNG that you're going to need to draw. Like, if certain pieces are on the bottom of the deck, it could make it more challenging to win it out. And being able to identify this deck is actually better in a best of 3 format. So that could be a Triad, that could be adaptive. I actually like this as an adaptive deck. I want to kind of try it out one time in that format, because that just gives you the opportunity where if you get the bad RNG and you're not drawing, that gives you more opportunities to get it back and get those things happening, and the RNG goes against your opponent as well for adaptive. So I'm really liking the idea of decks that may be combo-y being played in a best of 3 format, because it gives you that opportunity to have another chance. When you need to high roll into things, you do not want to be playing decks like that in a best of 1. The odds are going to be against you. And if you don't believe me, take stats, take notes of what happened. Like actually journal, like I like to do, about 10 games with a deck and write, did you get the card? When did you get it? Things like that, especially if you're on TCO and you can actually see the turn-by-turn play and mark down the turn. Mark down, did you win or lose? If you won, did you get those pieces out? If you lost, did you still get the pieces out or did you not? Start recognizing those patterns, create some data for yourself and some analysis so you can be better informed in how to play your decks. Hopefully this was helpful for you and you enjoyed it, and tune in on Tuesday to see me jam this guy right here, because Nagging Osprey of the Fort is definitely close to my heart. For sure, one of my favorite decks. I don't think I'll ever sell this one. Until next time, everyone, please do like and subscribe, and more importantly, share this with people. If you think people are going to get something out of these videos, I would love for you to pass it on. It would mean the world to me to get to grow this channel, bring more into this community that I'm a part of and you're a part of. And if you value what I'm doing, please share the value. And as always, like I like to say, may your Ember never be stolen and your keys forged promptly. Have a good one.